Good morning. Is this Tyler?
Good morning. This is Tyler. Can you
How
see
you
me?
doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Oh, awesome, awesome. A little chilly here. I'm in the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, nice.
Just did some early voting.
Oh, good.
It's called a runoff in the U.S. Senate.
Dang. Yeah, it's we're over in Nashville, so we're probably about same weather, I'd say.
I've become a Southerner. I've been down here for more than 3 decades.
Oh,
And
wow. Where are you from
we're
originally?
Cleveland, Ohio,
Cool.
which is just like I grew up in just the ice cold. I
Yeah.
shoveled snow for years.
Yeah.
I still don't miss it, but it's the birthplace of rock and roll. That's
That's so true, man. Yeah, exactly. I'm from Florida, so, any type of cold, I'm like, you know, jacket, what I got, pea coat, scarves, yeah, whatever I can get on.
that's true. Gosh, yeah, Florida. And whenever they dip below what, like 50, like they're all worried about
Oh
like,
my God. Yeah, they're like freeze warnings, break out the long underwear. I'm like, I'm good now. I've been living in Nashville 6 years. I'm ready.
yeah, great town. I talked to a lot of artists from Nashville and
Yeah,
great supportive community. It just
it
seems like,
really is.
yeah.
It really is. I mean, we noticed that instantly when we first visited here because we were from Florida originally. I don't have my partner in crime with me today, unless he's Garrett. Come on out. No, he's not here. Um, yeah, we moved here and we were looking at like LA, New York, and Nashville. So we are like, let's check those three spots out. Came to Nashville first, and we're like, this is it. Search party's off. Like we're staying. Everyone was just so nice. The musicians are so, like you said, supportive. It's such a supportive community, and we weren't really used to that in Florida. So it was really cool to have. It's very uplifting here.
Yeah, yeah. Like, Florida's like many other places, probably most of the country. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, what are you kids doing? Go get a real job there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I remember we would walk from our studio in Florida to Publix every day, on a break, and we'd be wearing what we wear, and we would get heckled. So we got hardened at a very young age from the stage dress.
This isn't Halloween now there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, it's tomorrow, but I'll still be wearing this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think here in Atlanta, people would say, "Hey, we understand you're in the music industry and entertainment
Totally.
because it's changed a lot over the years here."
Yeah. Atlanta's got a great scene too, man.
Yeah, hip hop is like really taken over throughout
Yeah.
a lot of the metro. And I have a recording studio around the corner from me. It's called Tree Sound Studios.
Cool.
Very environmentally friendly guy, and he started this years ago. And people like the keyboardist for the Rolling Stones records over there. Elton
Oh,
John
rad.
did. I think Elton John did an album called Peachtree Road, which was
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, really neat. So a lot of good stuff here. So do you guys get out and travel a lot? I'm sure there's a lot of backstory about COVID and
Right.
how that affected you.
Yeah, we definitely used to. We're kind of coming out of hibernation. I have an immune disorder, so like when COVID hit, it was like worst nightmare scenario. I had to move back to Florida with my parents for I think a little over 2 years. So I mean, we were used to playing gigs every week. We'd have something on the calendar. So to kind of go from no gigs, or to go from many gigs to no gigs, was kind of a tough adjustment for us. And we kind of got used to, being creative and writing on Zoom and kind of changing our creative relationship that way. So when the show stopped, it was rough, but it kind of birthed some new, creative energy, new ways to communicate. And that's kind of when Royal Sugar was birthed, out of that energy, just like, let's do exactly what we want to do right now. When I get back to Nashville, let's do it. Let's do this thing. So yeah, it was some dark times, and then it came some light. So
Yeah, I hear that with so many artists lately.
yeah.
It's just now they're emerging. And I was doing all of this during the pandemic, and
Right.
they were just doing, the live Facebook feed stuff, trying to get tip jars going and all that online. And
Yeah.
yeah, so many people just longing. It's like, I gotta break out of here. I'm going absolutely out of my
I
mind.
know. Yeah. There's definitely a threshold.
Yeah, yeah. So the name Royal Sugar, how did all that come about for those who need to be in the know on this?
So that was an interesting time. It's naming a band is always so tough. No matter who you ask, it's like it's so tough. And nowadays, it's like you feel like all the good names are taken. You're kind of hunting the internet, putting two
Yeah.
words next to each other, doing the puzzle, see if it works. And those two words were thrown around a lot. And then when we put them together, I just had this like light bulb moment where I'm like, that's got to be a band, right? So I went online. I'm like, so it's got to be. I was like, it's such a cool name. And upon closer investigation, it is not a band name, but it felt like a band that it felt like it should have been a band name. So that's why we settled on it. And yeah, it really felt like who we were in the moment and who we still are. Just like a really fun rock and roll name. So
Yeah, that's good. Nobody took it. You always got to Google it now.
I
Did
know.
somebody come
Yeah.
up with this before? I'm sure that's tough with songwriting too. It has to
Oh,
be
absolutely.
because you got to really, am I stealing this tune from somewhere? I mean, there are millions of songs
I
out.
know. Yeah. And there's been so many, lawsuits recently with big artists and stuff. And it's yeah, it's you always think because you're drawing from different inspirations and there's only I guess so many notes you can you can use in the scales and chords and stuff like that. But yeah, we're conscious of that too. But I think with us, like it's such a a collective mix because Garrett is kind of like a modern pop head. Like he's such a he's in the know of all that stuff. I kind of lean to him to be like, what's going on out there? I'm more of the 70s, 80s
Yeah.
drawn inspiration. So I think with those two, avenues coming at each other, it kind of makes for a cool middle ground.
Yeah. So growing up there, where in Florida did you grow up?
I grew up on the West Coast. Garrett grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in like Sarasota area,
Hmm.
Tampa. Yep,
Cool.
he
That's
grew up
beautiful
in
there. Yeah.
Melbourne. Yeah, it was a cool place. Cool place to grow up. A lot of surfing during storms. Very dangerous childhood, but
Here comes the hurricane. We got
yeah,
some waves there now.
yeah, it's time to do sports.
Yeah, you're always like on edge on those coasts, and it's beautiful most of the year, especially as we get into winter time. It's
Yeah,
like everybody's suffering in the snow, and you get to relax. Easy
I
to get
know.
around.
Yeah,
That's really cool. So, going up through school, what did you listen to growing up?
a lot of, I'd say like 70s and 80s rock, glam rock was kind of like where I hovered the most. You know, David Bowie, T-Rex, Mark Bolan, that kind of stuff, all the way up to Bon Jovi. I'd say the only two outliers would probably be The Doors, Jim Morrison, and Lenny Kravitz are like my two other North and South poles as the outliers there. But yeah, my dad introduced me to rock and roll at a really really young age to my mom's chagrin. I was just kind of like sneaking in and stealing. Probably it's like AC/DC records was like my first conduit to rock and roll, and that's essentially like their catalog is just like hell, being in hell, going to hell, all these things. So it was an interesting time as a kid to fall in love with music and have my dad teach me, guitar. I don't really know any music theory. I just kind of both him and I taught ourselves by ear. So I just sat down, put on the headphones, learned every AC/DC record back to front, and that was kind of my life from middle school through college was just like me and my songs. And then I met Garrett. I'm like, you do that too?
Nice.
Okay, well there's some. Yeah, I'm gonna lock you down.
Nice. Yeah, and growing up, did you get like into Alice Cooper and people like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that like freedom of expression. That's where I was drawn to like Jim Morrison and Mark Bolan and Bowie is just like the not only talented musicians but the freedom of expression on stage, off stage, like just that very, you felt yourself when you were listening to them, and that
Yeah.
was important to me.
Bowie is such an inspiration. I remember him growing up, and it's like I didn't do any music. I love music. I'm an
Right.
appreciator of music, but just so inspired me because I did a lot of film work, television work,
Yeah,
visual work, and even just doing that because he just did everything. He always got in and was always on the cutting edge, and that to me, I look at somebody like that, and it's just so inspirational, and just like recorded all the way to the day he passed. I mean, it was
absolutely.
basically.
It was just in his DNA, and he always spoke about that. He's like, there's a reason you're doing music, and there's a reason you
Yeah.
have this drive to continue creating, and that's why he did up until the point where he passed. It's just this innate, I got to do it. From like the second I heard my first, rock and roll song, I'm like, oh, I got to do it. Sorry. So
Did you start writing lyrics at a pretty young age and constructing songs as you were?
yeah, I definitely started the process where it's like it was interesting because I was listening to a lot of singers that had that very high register and my voice hadn't changed yet, so
Hmm.
there's this huge disparity even now between like my speaking voice and my singing register. So I was trying to figure out how to write songs in that register, and when my voice started to change, I'm like, okay, I gotta work on some breath work techniques. I gotta figure this out. But I think when I first started writing lyrics was um yeah, probably high school ish. I was in and out of the hospital a lot as a kid, and that started to become my release outside of listening to music. I was like, okay, I can, you know, use this as therapy. Like that was my first, therapy session was like writing how I felt. And the first songs were probably terrible. I can't remember them, but it felt good. And like I had to remind myself like, okay, there's a reason you're doing this. There's a reason this stuff's coming out. And I still feel like that every time I write. So
Yeah. Did you play a lot like school shows or anything like that? Or it was just simply, at home in the bedroom? I mean, that's like
yeah,
garage band.
I had a few. It was pretty much like an AC/DC cover band that we didn't want anyone to know. It was called 3000 Volts, and it's pretty on the nose. But I remember we played a gig at this church, and the catalog was not fit for the venue for sure. But I remember the guy announced us, and he was like, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, 3,000 watts." I'm like, "It's volts!" I remember like screaming out to the
Wow.
whole church, "It's volts! How dare you!" Yeah, we're a legitimate band. Yeah, um, but yeah, I was in and out of bands with a bunch of friends growing up, and it was tough to find like-minded individuals, rock fans at a young age, and that's where I feel like social media these days, TikTok specifically, I was like, man, I wish I had that as a kid where I could just log onto this app and within 30 minutes I have 12 lifelong David Bowie friends.
Yeah. It's so cool. I mean, all the technology is great and every artist can tell you you go through all of that. But nowadays the big downfall is everybody can do it. Everybody can get
Absolutely.
online. It's just that
Oh my
then
god,
content's everywhere.
everyone can get online, everyone could not have a profile photo and bully people like that. I feel like the rise of that was a tough adjustment, especially as like an artist releasing stuff. TikTok has a good side but also has a bad side where it's like anyone can say anything and they will. So it's you kind of got to learn to take it as I hope that person is doing okay. I hope whatever they're going through is I kind of lean to
Right.
that where I'm like something's going on in their life. I'm not the cause of it, but yeah, I try and yeah, stay out of the emotionally charged comment sections.
Yeah, they don't know you. And you
Yeah,
have to say, I'm not gonna take this personally. They don't know me. They're just saying, my
exactly.
video here. It's like they
Yeah,
don't really, get it. When people are
right.
just like, haters will always hate, and it's
Yeah,
always gonna be out there. It's just, and I think about somebody like a legacy artist like an Elton John,
yeah,
but brilliant these days. He's still on the charts because
I
he's
know.
regurgitated some of the stuff, but he gets the criticism like, oh, well, what are you doing here?
I
But
know.
it's brilliant marketing. You got to
Absolutely.
admit.
Absolutely. And that's, one of the old wives tales where it's like if people are hating on you, there's probably a reason you're doing something right. Like
Exactly.
um I think we
Yeah.
always say like we're like a pop band that upsets rock fans and a rock band that upsets pop fans. So it's like we're in a very upsetting band, but we'll find our fans, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you'll find that throughout all of the arts, but I think music gets the biggest hits because it's
Yeah,
just so accessible. You can play a song anywhere these days.
for
So
sure.
yeah, that's really true. You got to college. What made you decide to go where you went for school?
It was close. I wanted to be able to, travel back and forth to see family. And it was a cool college. It was University of South Florida. I remember visiting there and being like, this is it's similar to the Nashville thing where I got there. I'm like, I don't need to look anymore. Like this feels like home. Um, and it ended up being very shortly after that where I met Garrett, a mutual friend of ours, brought him over to my apartment one night. I wasn't a huge partier, so I had like a one bedroom apartment by myself, and like the rest of the block was, you know, parties every night, right? So people just
Mm.
bounce between doors, and I remember Garrett and Blake showed up on my door. And I just got in the shower, I had my towel on. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "This is my friend Garrett. Like, he sings and plays too. Like, he's a big rock fan. You guys should sing." And I remember I was like, "Yeah, come on in." So we sat down, played. I think it was like a Steve Miller Band or Bad Company song, and it was my first time harmonizing with someone. I had never done that before, and I remember hearing his voice and being like, I need to be around that voice. Like whatever like I need to lock him down, join a band with me, move to Nashville. I was like, I need to be around this man. And yeah, it was like an instant, you know, kind of telekinetic. I was like, something's here.
Mm.
So very thankful for University of South Florida for facilitating that moment between us.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And that's, you meet people in school, and that's the whole point in going away,
Right.
is getting out of your comfortable environment, and you never know who you could bump into. So
Exactly.
Garrett Carr,
Yep.
where does he originally come from?
He's from Melbourne, Florida, Vieira area, the Space Coast. His parents worked in the NASA program,
Uh,
so it was really cool, you know, growing up there. I bet.
Huge industry over there too.
Oh my god, it's wild. Like, yeah, everyone's connected to it. Some it feels like the mafia a little bit. It's like, oh, you know, so yeah, he's a made guy. He's connected over at NASA. But yeah, it's so cool to see the evolution of that. I think I saw a story post that he put up of his parents seeing one of the rockets take off recently, and they had recently retired, and like seeing their faces of you know,
Yeah.
all the work they had done. It was really cool.
That's got to be fascinating. And I saw Space Correspondent, and they got a great picture of her from behind, just watching, because they were waiting for Artemis to go up,
Right.
and they canceled it like twice or three times, something like
Yeah.
that. It's just like amazing when they finally actually did it.
Absolutely.
Oh my, it's really phenomenal over there, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, in school, so did you start recording with Garrett, or it was just basically all live playing until you were out of there?
Yeah, we did some live gigs. I remember our first gig was like a Toyota dealership, and I remember
Mhm.
thinking like Garrett came to me. He's like, "You got a PA or anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a PA." And he's like, "You want to do this Toyota gig?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I was like, they'll have a big stage out front, like festival style. We get there, and it's like it's for the employees that decided to show up on their lunch break, and there's like 3 or 4 people in there.
That's funny.
It and it was it was a rough gig, but it was still like one of my fondest memories because it's that learning experience where like it feels like you're getting thrown out of the plane. You got to figure out how to do it, and it was cool to be doing it with him. Like I felt very um, just at peace and at home and having a blast, even though, you know, we're messing up songs, we're forgetting lyrics, the PA's going in and out, but it felt, you know, really cool. And yeah, we started gigging around Florida. Um, Ended up getting like a independent record deal in Florida for a couple years. Kind of had our hands-on studio experience with a guy named Nick Bennick, Beatnik Sound, and we went in every day, you know, for a month, locked ourselves away, recorded 12 songs, learned vocal production, you know, how to chart out songs, how to take our like little acoustic songs and expand them into rock songs. Like it was very, you know, um, integral time for us to transition from, you know, playing the same parts, all three of us on acoustic guitars, to being like,
Yeah.
okay, who's gonna play bass, who's gonna play electric guitar, and then, you know, we decided we're like, we need to move to a place where uh, music's happening. Like we need to move to a place where, you know, people are, where people are going to challenge us, where people are going to uplift us, um, and understand our outfits a little better. So yeah, we moved to Nashville. It was only a couple years after we met, and yeah, this has become home. This feels like home for sure. Definitely a second home.
Yeah, East Nashville. That's where Nitty Gritty Dirt Band did their legendary album over there. This is like over 50 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of good material coming out of there. Your big new single is Fleeting Love.
Fleeting Love. Yep.
How did now the construction of that song, how did you
Yeah.
guys put that together?
That was we finished that when I got back after my, Bubble Boy stint in the COVID nebulous. So I got back here. It was pretty much like our ode to, toxic relationships, just kind of I think as human beings we're so drawn to that initial spark that you get in a relationship, and when that turns sour or toxic, you're just constantly chasing that extinguished flame, and it's a fool's errand. So we kind of likened that to our past toxic relationships and our past lives, and we were like we kind of likened it to like a drug where you're like searching for this,
Yeah.
high, knowing it's going to leave you completely, in pain afterwards. And I think that's where the toxicity comes in, is like the pain is the only conduit to the past pleasure you had with this person. So it was a easy song to write in the sense that we both had enough ammunition to be like, this is how it feels to be in this situation. And yeah, it was one of those, telekinetic moments with him where it was just, it flowed easily, and we're like, this is a fun song, so we wanted to release it as soon as we could, and kind of base that around when I was able to play live again. So it was a process, but it's cool to finally have it out.
And it was described kind of as a cross with Def Leppard and Jim Morrison. That's a great combo. It's
Right.
gives it
Yeah,
a serious pop feel.
that's my definitely my North Stars, where it's like we love that kind of anthemic 80s vibe, and also like the storytelling element of Jim Morrison. So we kind of tried to blend those together, and we have a lot of music we've accumulated over quarantine, recorded, that's just like burning a hole in our Dropbox. So we like want it out there. We want people to
Oh,
hear it. So we got
yeah.
probably an
And
album.
where can we go to hear all of this?
Spotify, I think everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music. I think so. It'll be we have a link in all of our profiles that has like the link
Mhm.
tree where it has all the
It's on your
services.
main web page. Is it
Mhm.
rollsugar.com? Is that
Yeah,
the
rollsugarband.com.
rollsugarband.com? Yeah. Sure, everybody can go there and hear that. It's great. Yeah, if you love pop music, I mean, it's
Right.
definitely for you. But hear that Jim Morrison influence. Did you ever see the Doors film, Oliver Stone's
I
film?
did. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That
it
was
was
really
I loved it. I mean, I know it got some criticism from the band for, glorifying his, drunken buffoonery, but I mean, that was such a small piece of him, and I think that's what Ray and Robbie
yeah.
like took from that, where it was like he was such a complex individual, and I think they kind of narrowed it to like one little dot of like problematic energy. But I mean, he was a genius. He was just like
Yeah.
came and gone and just left such a huge legacy. But I remember watching that movie at a very young age again, and being like, you know, this is incredible. Like what just I love the like band meeting stories where it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
meet on the beach, and they're talking like the doors of perception were cleansed, like just those like great rock and roll band stories. And I remember being immediately drawn in, and I love Val Kilmer. So that was like another
Perfect.
added benefit. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, that was great casting. I love Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Remember seeing him when he came here to town. He wrote a book and he was on a book tour. I got to see him.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, yeah, great director. Really, really smart guy.
Yeah.
But the Doors, I visited Jim's grave.
Oh, wow.
You should go see that. It's a
I
really
would.
depressing part of
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah. I need to go see that.
You go to the cemetery and they like wrote on other people's headstones, Jim this way. It's like
Oh
freaking
my
Jim.
god. Can you imagine the other family members coming to see their loved ones? It's like, well, I guess we'll see Jim while we're here.
It's like can't avoid that. It's
Yeah.
really I went there in a very dank time of year, so it was even more depressing. It's on a Super 8. I actually because I filmed Super 8 movies when I was
Oh,
growing
cool.
up. It was the last Super 8 I did. I went there in 95.
Yeah,
And it's just yeah, you got to visit that.
for sure.
Fascinating story. And they also a couple of books came out about the Doors. No One Here Gets Out Alive.
Mhm.
Um, and the other one is called Wonderland Avenue. And I met the author. His name was Danny Sugarman,
Oh,
who
okay, cool.
he hung out with Jim when he was very young. I don't know if he was like this detached kid growing up
Right.
in that area, but yeah, fascinating book. And he's since passed. Gosh, I mean, like most of the doors are just like it's so weird because
I know.
grew up and yeah, I knew about these guys, and it's so weird to see members of the Doors passing and people
I know.
associated with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your video for Fleeting Love is really good. How who directed that? It's a beautiful video.
It was our friend Dylan Jordan. He's a great photographer, videographer. We his buddy had a this like cool vintage 71 Impala, and he brought it over and we're like, this is killer. So he had the idea of us just sitting in the car and just like changing positions and it being very kind of like trippy. But I remember being in the car and it was such a cool car and so pristinely kept that like every little movement I took, I was like, I'm gonna take up the carpet, I'm gonna knock something out. And Garrett was like flipping over the front seat. I'm like the owner's watching us do it from but it was very cool. Like that was like um our intro into like creating this world around Fleeting Love. And yeah, he did a great job. And we just recently filmed a full music video for Fleeting Love um last week, I think it was. And we're able to go into this wild like LED wall space where they like film movies and Mandalorian, all these TV shows. And we walked in and we're like so used to like filming in like tiny little cyc walls, like 6x6 cyc walls. And we go in there and they're like, yeah, like Tom Cruise was in here last week, Taylor Swift. We're like, we shouldn't be here. Like this is we're not ready for this. But yeah, they were super
Yeah.
gracious to have us in there, and it was such a cool experience because we wanted to create this, expansive video for the song to kind of make it feel like how it felt when we were writing it, and fog and strobe lights and everything. So we're really excited to have that out and have a visual for the song.
Great. And you also did a cover of Medicine. I just
Yeah.
saw that video. That's been racking up some views too. Medicine is a Harry Styles song.
Yeah, that
What
was
made you decide on that?
Garrett and I were always huge One Direction fans, and like when we would play live, we would cover songs and like turn them into rock versions. And we went and saw Harry on his first solo tour here in Nashville, 2018, I think it was. I remember like looking down from the nosebleeds with Garrett and like him starting to play that song. We're like, what is that song? Like it was like it sounds like something we would do. It's like this very it has this rock vibe to it. And we kind of waited around because we didn't find it on any of his records, and we waited around like everyone else. We're like, when's he gonna release this song? And he never did. So we're like, I think we just need to record our own version of it. But yeah, it was really cool because that was like our just started as like a fun project where we're like, let's turn this song into our version of it, and then that kind of birthed our sound.
Good. Over 70,000 followers on TikTok. That's incredible. So that's really blowing up. Yeah, great song.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. This like I was saying, like as a kid, I wish I could have gone on an app and found glam rock fans that also like pop and know who Harry Styles is. It's like a very like interesting algorithm, where I think algorithms get a lot of hate sometimes. But it's very creepy how like targeted the algorithm is. It was like finding all these amazing people to like share our music to and create a community with. So it's
Cool.
yeah, even as a glam rock fan, it's really cool to like be a part of that community, even like aside from us being the band. It's really cool to yeah, be a part of it.
Yeah. So what do you hope to do? Like put out lots of albums, EPs, just stick with singles. I know a lot of people are like, we're
Yeah,
going back to just doing singles, get
right.
them out there as fast as possible.
We're definitely we want to get that album out there. We love albums, we love records, we love an experience listening from beginning to end, having a cohesive tie. And that's definitely the goal for 2023 is to, assemble, whether that be an EP first and then an album. But we definitely have an album's worth. So it's I would definitely want to record an album and get that out there.
Yeah, tour behind that. So the
Mhm.
kind of dates you're setting up, are you headlining? Are you opening up for others?
Definitely want to do some headlining spots around Nashville. That's going to be our initial, re-entry after this,
Yeah.
quarantine period. But super exciting. I was telling Garrett, I was like, if we can just play one more show, my life is complete. Like that's how I feel at this point. It's just so fun to like think about almost like restarting our career. Like I feel like a kid again, where it's just like I feel like I'm in 3,000 volts and I'm like about to take the stage. It's like it's volts, by the way. Um, but we kind of like
Yeah.
rekindle that energy where it's like let's just go have a blast, play some shows. So yeah, the goal is to play some shows around Nashville, hopefully get some like opening slots on tour nationally. And yeah, we've been rehearsing the last few months. So first of the year we'll kind of start to kick it back up.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully you'll get around the country too and
Yeah,
really expand beyond Nashville.
absolutely. We'd love to come play in Atlanta. We That was actually one of the spots we were about to play before before COVID hit. So
A lot of good
definitely.
venues here. That's it would be incredible. And we have a band standing. I'm in the Peachtree Corners area, and they have a band
Right.
out here. A lot of people play over here. I think Spin Doctors actually played that
Oh, cool.
stage. So yeah, I mean, you go Peachtree Corners. There's Peachtree City on the south side that has a really nice big amphitheater. So many places you could
Yeah.
play here. But yeah, wow. So you're rehearsing, you have a rituals that you're doing during rehearsals, getting your I heard you're practicing in heels
I am. Yeah, I think I have them on today. Just these
to
are the
get you into that mood.
platforms. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've been, coming out of, not having played shows for a while. Even my normal heels were starting to get my Achilles a little sore. So I'm like, I need to ramp this, workout schedule back up. So yeah, we've been rehearsing in like full glam and trying to get that energy up and assembled live band. We have Jordan Arnold on drums, Jack Devine on guitar. It's just these incredible young musicians that we found in Nashville, and that's, I mean, just a testament to this town is just going on social media and finding like the best drummer and guitar player I've ever seen, and being like, "Hey, you want to play for a rock band?" They're like, "Hell yeah!" Um, so it's been really cool to kind of rekindle that live dynamic again,
Nice.
to be able to do it. So
That is really cool. Yeah, your website's doing great. A lot of followers there. You're getting over 1 million likes on your platform. So you know that there's a lot of good fan base out there. So yeah, absolutely. Well, best wishes to you.
thank you so much.
Do you have another album in production or something just down the road, or are
Yeah,
you always constantly writing?
yeah, constantly. I think whenever something strikes us, I'm like, Garrett, get over here. Something's happening.
Hmm.
But I'm in my home studio right now, and I'll kind of carve out, you know, things I'm hearing in my head the best of my ability, and then we'll, you know, take it to the bigger studios, and then kind of figure it out. But yeah, we have a lot even mixed and mastered already. So the plan is to either release maybe one more single and then work towards the album, but I would definitely like to get a full length album out there. So maybe another hibernation period where we finish all the ideas that are floating around, and then yeah, release them.
Nice. Do you have like a vocal technique? Do you have a vocal coach? How do you keep that voice in shape?
I don't, unfortunately. I've had vocal nodules and stuff in the past. I've had a couple voice therapists here and there to like help me with my breath support. I definitely had to like relearn how to,
Mm.
because when I went through that period of like starting to sing at a young age and then the voice changing, I never really learned how to support that in a healthy way. So they've definitely helped me with like breath support and vocal control. Definitely the warm ups. I never warmed up in the past, so that's a very important thing to do, especially if we want to be playing more shows. So yeah, it's the warm up is very central to the keeping it on pitch for sure.
Yeah, people just like you could just sing, but it's a profession, it's a technique. You have to
Yeah,
take care of that. So
yeah.
that's awesome. Well, great speaking with you. And
You too. Thank you so much for having us on, Robert. That was awesome. Well, I wish Garrett was here. He's here in spirit. He's somewhere in this room.
we'll get him down the road some other time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like you're off to a great start. So definitely check it out. It is royalsugarband.com.
Yeah.
All the links to the socials, latest material that's out there. So that's awesome. Really cool speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Take care. Have a good one.
You too.